Today, I'm going to break down this speed paint for you guys from start to finish. The steps, my thought process, and the painting techniques I used are all packed right into this video. Let's get into it. First, let's look at the reference. It's a corner of a room, and two things really caught my eye, the strong lighting and the distinct textures. So, the goal for this practice is super clear lighting and reflective materials. The overall vibe is a warm tone, and we're mainly dealing with three materials here: the marble table, the TV screen glass, and the drinking glass. The smooth marble surface gives off some really clear, mirror-like reflections. Then there's the glassy texture of the TV screen, and the drinking glass capturing that translucent light passing effect is the real key here. I'm going to make the TV screen and the marble table our main focal points and really render them out. As for the rest, like the walls and the little objects in the background, I'll just keep my brushwork loose and brush over them lightly. You have to pick and choose your details to give the painting real depth. Next up is the sketching phase. I'm going to start with a rough sketch just to figure out the general placement and perspective of everything. We're working with two-point perspective here. I'll find a few key lines in the reference and use a perspective tool to set up my left and right vanishing points. For the vertical lines, just keep them straight up and down, no need to worry about a third vanishing point. Once the perspective is locked in, I'll drop the opacity of my guidelines so they aren't distracting, and quickly block in the objects. I'm keeping my sketch pretty loose here, but if you're not super confident with your forms yet, feel free to tighten up the sketch and take your time. With the sketch done, I'll set the line art layer to multiply, lower the opacity a bit more, and get ready to lay down our base colors. First step for laying down color, I put each object silhouette on a separate layer and block them in directly using their local flat colors. I like to keep my layers pretty separated from the start. It makes the rendering phase so much easier later on. Once the base colors are down, I'll turn off the sketch layer and use the transform tool to tweak the placement and shapes of these color blocks. I don't really like my shapes looking too perfect or stiff. Warping and pushing them around a little bit gives the painting way more character. Now that the big shapes are blocked in, the painting officially has its bones. Next up are two crucial steps: locking in the lighting, and then enriching the colors. Nail these two, and your piece will really come alive. First, let's tackle the lighting. My go-to method is to create a new overlay layer right above our base colors, and I'll use this to paint in all the illuminated areas. Why an overlay layer? Because it lets the underlying colors show through while giving the light a really natural, luminous glow. I also pair this with a layer mask, which is a total lifesaver. If I make a mistake, I can just erase it and tweak it on the fly. Next, I'll drop in the cast shadows for the table, the TV screen, and the glass. I'm still sticking to the big picture first rule here, just using big, quick strokes to block things in without getting bogged down in the details. As long as your overall lighting setup is solid, your rendering won't go off the rails later on. The lighting is locked in, but to make the colors really pleasing to the eye, we need to go one step further, enriching the colors. A lot of people go to extremes here. Either they're too scared to add color and the piece looks muddy, or they add way too many random colors and it just looks chaotic. My personal method combines two tricks. Trick number 1, controlling the overall color scheme. Look at the color wheel. Every color has neighbors and rivals. The neighbors are analogous colors, they look really harmonious together. The rivals are complementary colors, put them together and they really pop. I usually stick to the 60-30-10 rule, 60% dominant color to set the mood, 30% analogous colors to give the main color some depth, and 10% complementary colors tucked into the shadows or small areas to make things pop. This keeps the painting dynamic without looking messy. Trick number 2, brush texture plus color temperature. Having the right ratios is great, but how do you make a single color itself look richer? A method I use all the time is mixing in different hues from the same color family using a textured brush. For example, let's say I want to paint a patch of green. Green is just blue plus yellow, right? So to make this green more interesting, I'll grab a yellowish green and brush it on with some texture, then take a bluish green and layer that right on top. And here's the magic part: when you zoom out, it still reads as green. But instead of a flat, dead green, it's now a green packed with warm and cool shifts and a rich, textured feel. So, to sum it up, if you want rich colors, control the big picture using that 60-30-10 rule. For the details, use textured brushes to mix your colors. Lighting builds the skeleton, and color adds the flesh. Nail these 2 steps, and your painting has a solid foundation. Next, I'm going to start detailing things one by one, starting right from the focal point. As I paint, I'm constantly tweaking the shapes of the color blocks I laid down earlier and pushing the colors further. Enriching the colors is exactly what I just talked about, grabbing a grainy brush and picking analogous colors to give those flat shapes more life. Right now I'm rendering the screen. I'll take a soft edge brush first and just lay down the most obvious colors I see in the reference. I'll tweak the shape and colors of the glass a bit. And right here I'm using color blocks to define the side plane of the TV. I'll quickly sketch out the rough light and shadow values for the glass. During the rendering phase, my approach to detailing might be a little different from what you'd expect. A lot of people fall into this trap where they render locally like. They'll finish this glass on the right to 100% before even touching the TV on the left, but when the glass is done and they zoom out, the lighting is off, the colors clash, and they have to start all over again. My habit is to work the whole canvas. What does that mean? It means I push every part of the painting forward at the exact same time. A few strokes on the wall here, a couple on the table there. Dropping in a shadow here, hitting a highlight there. I don't let any single area get too far ahead, so the whole piece stays on the exact same progress timeline. That way, when I'm doing my final tweaks, nothing stands out too much or looks too unfinished. So when I'm working the whole canvas like this, what am I actually focusing on? Honestly, just three things: light, color, and form. Light, is the light direction correct? Are the values pushed enough between light and dark? Color, is the overall color scheme unified? Are the colors rich enough? Form, are the shapes accurate? Am I balancing my hard and soft edges? I'm not going for hyper-realism. I don't obsess over how many panes are in a window or exactly how many leaves are on a plant. Take the TV here, for example. I couldn't care less about how many buttons or screws it has. To my eyes, it just exists as a block of color. For each color block, I'm enriching the colors and adding details based on their importance. The goal is to always make sure the big picture stays solid and doesn't fall apart. Since the TV is the focal point of the painting, I'll pack more of those little details into it, while keeping the surrounding objects pretty loose. This creates a clear visual hierarchy, and within the TV itself, the screen is the absolute center of attention, so that's where I'll focus most of my rendering. The screen is a curved glass surface, so it's going to reflect the environment around it, like the light coming in from the window and other objects in the room. Just don't paint these reflections too sharp. Keep them a bit blurred out to really capture that translucent, glassy feel. Along the edges of the TV screen, I'm going to add some subtle shifts in the lighting and color. I want to make the colors in the shadows richer and more luminous too, so they don't just look flat and boring. Those shadow areas will actually pick up some color from the glass next to it, along with some bounce light from the wall behind it. Next up, let's paint the glasses. While working on these, I'm focusing on two things at once: building the volume and pushing the warm and cool contrast. Our main light source is warm, so on the lit side, I'm sticking to warmer colors. For the shadow side, I'm cooling the colors down to create a nice warm versus cool contrast. Even though there are two glasses stacked here, I'm treating them as one single shape at first. I'm not in a rush to separate them. I just want to block in the overall values and temperatures first, then, with just a light stroke along the edge of the top glass and just hinting at the rim of the bottom one, the relationship between the two instantly pops out. Don't over-render every single edge, or the shapes will start looking fragmented and messy. Oh, one more detail: the glass on the side is yellow, so it's going to bounce a little bit of that color onto the glass below it. So, I'll just lightly brush a little bit of a yellowish tint right where they meet, just to hint at it. You don't need to make it super obvious, just enough to get the idea across is perfect. Next up, let's paint this yellow cup. The process here is super simple. I'll start by blocking in the core shadow. You can actually bump up the saturation a bit right at the core shadow. Down in the shadow area, I'll drop in some bounce light, keeping the colors a bit cooler than the lit side. This creates a really nice warm versus cool contrast between the shadows and the light. Then I'll pop the highlights on the lit side a bit more. Nothing crazy, just a few quick strokes will do the trick. Just like that, the values are pushed and the light and dark planes are clearly separated. Don't get caught up in the details. Just drop in a few quick, loose strokes, hinting at the rim, the edge of the handle, and the lighting transitions just enough to sell the illusion. Here's a tool I use absolutely all the time, the smudge tool. A lot of beginners are scared of the smudge tool because they think it'll make their painting look muddy, but it's actually incredibly handy. I mainly use it for two things. First, blending colors. For example, if your core shadow is looking a bit too harsh or stiff, just a light smudge will smooth out that transition beautifully. Second, controlling your hard and soft edges. Wherever an edge needs to be softer, or if a bounce light is popping out way too much, just give it a quick smudge. But here is the key: don't just scrub back and forth. If you overblend, your colors will just turn to mud. Next, let's tweak the color and texture of the wall a bit to get that luminous, translucent feel. My go-to trick is to use an overlay layer to brush on some bright colors. Overlay layers are also fantastic for making your colors richer. You guys should definitely give it a try. As for the rest of the objects in the scene, keep them loose and don't over-render. Take the wall for example. We've got these tile lines here, but I just lightly brushed in a subtle highlight, just a few quick strokes following the direction of the light. This gives the lines a sense of volume so they don't just look like a flat grid. Once you drop in that highlight, the lines instantly pop out a bit, but without stealing attention from our main subject. Now look at this clear vase in the background. Since it's pushed further back in the scene, I didn't render it tightly at all. I just roughly hinted at the fact that there's water and leaves inside, just giving a feeling of water. I brushed in the shapes of the leaves with just a few strokes, added a little translucency, and lightly defined the shape of the vase with some bright colors. You don't need to draw the whole thing, just enough to get the point across and let the viewer's brain fill in the rest. For distant objects, capturing the overall vibe is plenty. The leaves in the vase follow the exact same logic. I'm not painting what specific type of leaf it is or counting how many there are. I'm only painting the shifts in color and values. A little darker here, a little lighter there. A bit warmer, a bit cooler. As soon as there's a slight sense of volume, I stop. Nobody is going to stare at a distant leaf and count them. They just need the illusion that leaves are there. Now, I'm going to use a layer mask to tweak the lighting on the wall we painted earlier. The beauty of a layer mask is that if you paint too much, you can just erase it back. If it's not enough, you can add more. It's completely non-destructive. If the light is too harsh somewhere, a gentle erase tones it down. If it's not bright enough, a couple of strokes brightens it right up. It's incredibly handy. Here's a little pro tip to really make your lighting pop. Along the edge of the light, I like to overlay a highly saturated yellow. Don't paint it everywhere, just lightly sweep it right along that border where the light meets the shadow. If you look at real-life photos, or just stare at how a desk lamp hits the wall, you'll notice the edge of the light is often much more saturated than the center. That's because light scatters at the edges, making the colors look richer and warmer. Once you add this layer, the lighting instantly feels next level. Finally, the main event, the marble table. This kind of reflective material is influenced by quite a few different things, but my approach is still super simple. I just treat everything as blocks of color. Let's start with the most important part, the sunlight hitting the table. This sets the foundation for the whole surface. We've got this warm yellow light pouring in from the window, so I'll block in this big picture first. Next up are the reflections from the TV and the glasses. When these reflect onto the table, their shapes get blurry and their colors get a bit more desaturated. I don't really think of it as the TV's reflection. I just treat it as a few cool tone color blocks and lightly drop them right into the appropriate spots. Now for the final, crucial step, adding texture. I'm going to grab a grainy brush for this. I'll just throw down a few random strokes. They don't need to be too neat or packed too tightly together, and then use the transform tool to stretch them out. Just roughly align them with the perspective of the table. It's really that simple. The marble texture instantly comes to life. With the table finished, it's time for the final polish to bring the whole piece together. I'll tweak the values on the cabinet one more time, and clean up the edges and corners. Deepen the cast shadows where they need to be darker, and pop the highlights where they need to be brighter. And with that, this speed paint is officially done. Finally, I want to share a philosophy I've always stuck to. When doing speed paints, I'm always focusing on capturing the overall vibe. When you zoom out, everything you need is there: the lighting, the colors, the textures, and the sense of space. But when you zoom in, it's actually pretty loose and rough. There are barely any details at all. And this is exactly the skill I've been training myself to master, conveying the maximum amount of information with the fewest number of brush strokes. Time is limited today, so I could only give you guys a rough breakdown. I really hope this was helpful to you. I'll be making more detailed, step-by-step breakdowns like this in the future, so if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Let's paint and level up together. See you in the next video.